This episode is brought to you by Simply Eloped. Planning a wedding and feeling overwhelmed? Simply Eloped makes it easy. With over 14,000 elopements and vow renewals planned and 37 stunning U.S. destinations, Simply Eloped planners have you covered. Their all-inclusive packages connect you with over 700 top-tier vendors, cutting stress, cost, and complexity. Your story deserves ease. Let them handle the hard stuff. You just show up and say, I do. Start planning today at simplyeloped.com. That's simplyeloped.com.
Today is Friday, November 21st. I'm Paul Caroli, and here's what Denver's talking about. Welcome to CityCast Denver, the show about the city where the transportation department just downgraded plans to put Alameda on a traffic calming plan called a road diet. So honestly, with the Thanksgiving coming up, I'm giving up on mine as well.
I was like, I've got something for this later on in the show.
Oh, really? Okay.
So I'm very upset about
We'll
it,
get to
but
we'll put a pin on it.
it's the only place where diet is still a word that people use. Road diet.
Road
It's
diet?
awkward.
It is awkward. It sounds weird. I just like people don't, it's not, we've moved on from like bragging about diets. It's now like optimization and biohacking, even though it's just dieting for dudes. But I think this is where we still hear it pretty prominently. Road diets. Thanks, urban planning.
Well, I mentioned earlier, but I'm Paul Caroli. It's Friday. We're looking back at a big week of news. We're going to talk about illicit materials from fentanyl to tacos. And then second, where does it come from? Where does it go? Where did you come from? Dark Money Joe.
You just butchered a wonderful song that my friend group and I loved in high school, the Cotton Eye Joe, which I think is a Swedish band actually making fun of
really?
American Western
Is
culture.
that for real?
I believe so. I don't think they're American.
I thought you did a great job. My toe tapped.
Thanks. Yeah, I was
Now I
thinking,
wanna
I
listen
looked
to
at the
that
whole
song.
lyrics. I was like, is this worth putting in the time to write a whole parody about Dark Money and Cotton Eye
Where
Joe?
did you come from? Where did
I
you
might
go?
still do that. Hey, not today though. Sorry. Catch us on Instagram because we're taping the show on video at the beautiful Dude IDK Studios in 5 Points. Bree Davies is with me as usual. Hey, Bree.
Hi,
Bree, you traveling for Thanksgiving?
I am. I'm going to Seattle to see my sibling and then also go on a guided tour with my husband's bandmate who has ties to Nirvana in some way. So we're going on a Nirvana tour of Seattle,
Oh, that's
of
cool.
all these places he knows for our son who
For your son?
loves, I mean, also for me,
Mhm.
but also for my 4-year-old. I swear it's for my 4-year-old. But that's what we're going to do. What about you?
No.
No traveling?
Nope. I do have one plan I'm excited about. We used to buy, my wife and I, we used to buy a pig every year, a whole hog.
Yeah.
We stopped doing that. But this year I just want to get the head because Megan makes a really good pig's head pozole. So I called the place that used to butcher the hogs for us to see if they have just like heads lying around.
Sure.
Oh,
just
sure.
Yeah.
And they do. They sell them for $20. So I'm going to go drive up to LaSalle and get a pig's head.
I would not have guessed $20. I would have guessed more. I don't know why.
I think so. I would think around 50, but I also don't, I don't
I
know
thought they
what
were
kind
just-
of meat, you know what I mean? Like what you can get off of it.
I thought they were just going to give them to me. I
Oh.
mean, what's the market for pig's heads? Who's buying these?
Apparently, Kyle and I think pig's heads are worth
I was about to say
way
they could
more
have
money.
they could have taken us for double. So
All right. Well, you've heard his voice. We got a great guest today. He's the host of Next with Kyle Clark on 9 News. Welcome back, Kyle Clark.
howdy.
Kyle, I've seen you at a lot of Broncos games lately. Wanted to ask you about your
Yeah.
merch. You got a lot of the retro merch.
Did you get some of the Topo Designs merch?
No, I've got like an old like orange satin Broncos jacket, but I've had it for like 15 years. I don't really know where I got it. Occasionally somebody will be like,
That
"That's a nice
is-
jacket," and I'm just kind of like, I can't really help you with that. But I'm sure they're floating around if you just
Yeah.
search.
I
Do you
love
prefer
those.
the retro, the D logo, or the
Yes.
new head?
No. The retro jerseys are the jerseys. I respect the feelings of the people who say that they should not be the full-time jerseys because the Broncos lost Super Bowls in them. But those folks are superstitious and wrong, and they're aesthetically gorgeous, and
Yeah.
those should be the jerseys and the helmets.
I'm with you.
Okay. I was going to ask, but there you go. There's the take.
I mean, I would just also say I've seen a lot of those D tattoos. I have never seen the horse's head tattoo. So I think hardcore, if you're that hardcore of a Broncos fan, you're probably a vintage logo guy.
Yeah, I like the variety. I like that they have different stuff and mix it up. My friend JD has a big gold ring with the head, the head on it, and that's pretty cool.
Nice, JD. I like that.
Anyway, we have one thing to talk about before we get to the top story, the Denver is Denver Awards. We're doing an award show, and you should come. You should buy tickets at the link in the show notes and nominate your favorite things to celebrate them and everything that's great about the city.
Kyle's going to surprise our first announcement. Kyle's going to be there.
Hey,
I've seen some nominations for you as well.
We've also gotten nominations for you. So
what category are they shoehorning me into?
Coolest guy. No, it's the Denverist Denverite.
Yeah,
the person that embodies the city.
No, don't vote for me for that. No.
Well, regardless, come see Kyle and us on stage at the beautiful Oriental Theater, December 18th.
Do you have a nomination? Who would you put up for Denverist Denverite of the Year?
Oh, I don't know. I'd want to give that some thought. I feel like I would want it to be somebody whose name is not well known, like an invitation to meet somebody, and like learn about them, as opposed to just somebody that everybody knows and kind of falls into the category.
I do like that because we put in a space for people to write in a why, like why are you nominating this person, and I hope that people feel like this is a chance to like just call it like a great teacher or like someone in your neighborhood that's doing a great job and tell us why, because otherwise we won't know.
My mom has a favorite restaurant and she wanted to nominate the owner. So she texted me and was like, do you know the owner's name? I was like, Mom, you go there every Thursday. Why don't you just ask him? Oh, yeah, I could do that, huh? Yeah, I think that'd be the easiest way. This guy like personally greets my mom and my aunt and my niece and my son at 4 p.m., at 4 p.m. dinner time.
Sure.
And every Thursday, they treat them like, it's amazing, but that will hopefully come up, who it is.
There should be a word for people that you know really well, but just not their name.
I had this experience at Jay's Noodles last night. She was like, you haven't been in it forever. I was like, oh my God, I know it's not personal.
Girl,
She's
it's so great to see you.
Yeah.
Right.
I was like, your kids are so big. She's like, where's your son? I was like, here's a picture of him. She's like, bring him in. I was like, okay. And then I was like, I don't remember her name. She's lovely. Jay's Noodles. I mean, you did a great segment on them, but some of the best Thai in the city.
Well, it's time to get to our top story, I think. The gorgeous Sonnenalp Hotel in Vail offers the warmest European hospitality in the heart of the Vail Valley for the price of $0. If you're a state representative and you're friends with the right dark money group. That's the allegation, at least. And this week, the Colorado Independent Ethics Commission voted unanimously to investigate claims against 17 state Democrats who participated in a Opportunity Caucus retreat in Vail in October. So they could be in hot water, but I'm not talking about the heated indoor and outdoor tranquility pool with riverfront sun deck and summer pool bar.
Beautiful yellow towels, too, I noticed when we were cruising their site.
It looks like a beautiful hotel. I'd love to visit. But this is a good old-fashioned scandal here, Kyle. Where does it rank? Where do you rank it on the scandalometer?
I think it's interesting, if only because it is indicative of the coming civil war between leftists and centrists in the state Democratic Party. I mean, I think it's fairly predictable, right? That like this kind of thing would happen, right? If you're going to get together a bunch of state legislators and give them their marching orders from the business community, like you're not going to do that at the Ramada in Aurora, right? You're going to take them somewhere fancy, And so is this an ethics violation? The Independent Ethics Committee will look at that and decide, but it feels pretty predictable. I just think this is a preview of coming attractions for this year's legislative session and the one after that and the one after that, where you have an ascendant progressive wing in the state legislature who don't love the idea that there is a bunch of centrist Democrats that they think are just doing the bidding of big business.
Yeah. Bree, what do you think? Are you seeing outrage or does it feel predictable?
No, it feels predictable to me. And I'm with you, Kyle. I think that is just another knock against those centrist Democrats and more fodder for the farther left folks to say, like, this is exactly what we don't want to keep doing because it hasn't gotten us anywhere, at least from like the leftist perspective. I also just think it feels like this is how politics has worked for so long that maybe people are like, oh, of course that's happening. Not to undermine it, but like, I assume a lot of politics happens this way. I was very surprised in working on a campaign that I was like, oh, this is really how it works. Us on the left over here idealizing Bernie Sanders, like there's just not necessarily a lot of that guy around. And I think the other thing too is there's a lot of things happening right now that the farther left folks are worried about, like ICE raids and such. So this kind of was just a blip, but it is building to the bigger thing. I agree.
I think this is problematic, though, for Colorado Democrats, because we're coming up on a year in which part of the case against Donald Trump and Republicans is that they are corrupt and in the pocket of big business. And if all Republicans need to do in response is to say, well, yeah, but how about that dark money business group that paid for your fancy hotel in Vail so they could tell you how to vote this year? Like, that's a pretty concise argument to make that Republicans could try to use to diffuse attacks on Trump. So it's a difficult message for Democrats to have to be dealing with when they want that fire to be focused on Trump.
Yeah, corruption. What is corruption? I'm struck by this notion that you all both think that this is the way politics happens. Like, I wonder if that's how most people really do feel. Like, what is set the scene for me. Like, what did you think this is? This retreat that happened? How do you think this worked? What happened there? What should people know about how these conversations go between these dark money group and these elected officials?
Well, the reporting that we know, and there's been lots of very good reporting on this from Seth Klayman at the Post and Marianne Goodland at the Gazette and Colorado Politics. The Colorado Sun's had good reporting on this as well. That this was set up as a summit where centrist Democrats were going to meet with business lobbyists to basically get them up to speed on what they want to have happen in the coming legislative session. I think that sort of thing happens all the time, right? And it doesn't just happen in the center of politics or on the right, like it happens on the left too. Like, groups get together and say, here are our objectives, here's the way that we would like you to vote this year, here are our priorities. The issue in this case just became, based on the reporting that we've seen, this hotel's really fancy and we can't afford the rooms. Does this dark money group want to kick in to pay for the rooms? And the gift limit in Colorado is $75, right? It's absurdly low, right? So $25,000, even for those of us not great at math, is significantly in excess of $75. And that's where it tripped him up. I think what was going on there in that room is not particularly special or interesting.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's just the nature of lobbying, how lobbying works, at least from my understanding. And I think it's just very telling which Democrats were in the room, which Democrats were participating in this. Says to me a lot about how things work and how there is, I think, been an ongoing shift away from this kind of politicking, I guess, for lack of a better term.
Well, two of the Democrats that were in the room were Lindsay Daughtry and Shannon Bird.
Shannon Bird wasn't there. She was
part of the group.
But
she was in the caucus. I think she has one of the complaints against her.
Yeah, she helped to set up that Opportunity Caucus, which is kind of like the centrist pro-business, I guess they would describe themselves, caucus of Dems. But she's now running for Congress in CDH in the Democratic primary against Manny Rutinel and others looking to face Gabe Evans. But she was not physically at this conference and is asked to be off the complaint.
Yeah, I didn't know she had
that's
any.
Going to work for her.
Yeah, movement in the organizing part. I also did not realize she was in the CD8 race somehow.
Oh yeah, she just got the nomination from Emily's list. It's definitely between her and Manny Rutinel, I think.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say, and I also think that progressives are going to tag Bird with this One Main Street thing as well, even if she wasn't in the room, because she set up the caucus and she's part of kind of like that centrist Dem voting bloc, right? You know. This is politics, right? The lefties are going to tag her as kind of like a Republican in disguise, right? She's going to say, no, I'm a common sense Democrat. And I think it's going to be up to those of us in media to kind of remind folks of exactly what happened as it relates to this specific incident if she faces attacks based on what happened in Vail.
Yeah, what struck me is about the reporting was like One Main Street helped organize the Opportunity Caucus in the first place earlier this year. Like, these people have just work together. I guess that speaks to like the normalcy all are talking about. But One Main Street's not exactly new to the scene. Like they were helped fundraise against some of these progressives in last year's races. We don't know who their funders are because they're this special type of group. Do you know who they are, Kyle?
To the point that I can say it here on the camera. That's the kind of thing that I would prefer to run by my station's legal department before I do.
Bree, do you know?
I have no clue. I don't know.
The Common Cause is the group that brought the ethics complaint, and some people have called them a dark money group as well.
They don't disclose donors. I mean, right? What's a dark money group? It's a group that doesn't disclose donors that you don't like. right?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Like that's what a dark money group
Whichever
is.
side they're working
Yeah.
on.
I wonder if that's the right term for us to use then, because it does just have a negative connotation about, that just doesn't feel so fair. Because
Secret money?
there's also a lot of people that love this kind of opportunity caucus stuff. Like this, it feels like the conversation around, I mean, just to speak to like the more centrist Democrats' case on this, like they talk about being pragmatic. When they announced this new caucus, they're like, we want to have less, divisive solutions. We want to just talk about problems. That's what they went on this retreat to do, talk about problems and not have, not fight so aggressively, I guess. But I think people want that a little bit. I think there is a movement on the left to be, at least some parts of the left, to be a little bit more friendly to business interests and the free market. Like maybe that's, some people would see that as cozying up to corporations and corruption, but I think there's interest in that because they equate it to affordability.
Sure. I mean, right. It's the whole abundance agenda, right? You've got the folks who are on board with that. But and I'm sure that the folks who are in that caucus would say that you want a pro-business state because it's going to create jobs for people and it's going to raise folks' standard of living and make Colorado a great place to live and so forth. Right. Yeah, this is the divide right now within the Democratic Party. And so again, I think the divide is very interesting. The ethics complaint just kind of is what it is, right? Somebody got caught doing something that certainly looks like it would follow the rules in Colorado, and they're gonna run it to ground. They're gonna sort it out, and the folks who were there are gonna get tagged with it.
So part of sorting it out is going to be public hearings, apparently. So people are going to ask them hard questions. What questions would you ask?
I think my question is always, do you know who is paying for the things you're getting? And that can feel like a gotcha question, but it's not a gotcha question, right? I think in our lives, we know anytime we get something, who paid for it.
Oh, yeah.
Right. But I think sometimes when you're in business circles, social circles, nonprofit circles, political circles, like things come to groups of people. And in Colorado, it's somewhat incumbent upon folks in elected office to know who's giving them things, right? So I think that would be one of my questions. At the end of the day, does the public care about this? Do voters care about it? I don't know how much they care about what happened in Vail. I do think they care and should care about the difference of opinion between progressives and centrist Democrats in Colorado, because that's about how the state is going to be led in the coming years.
I just also want to push back on something you said, Paul, because I don't associate the abundance movement with the far left. I associate that more
did I say that?
No.
Definitely more the center.
Yeah, the center.
Oh, okay. Because I was like, I don't know any progressives that are into abundance. They're more into redistribution. But okay, I misunderstood. Thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So we're talking about this divide in the Democratic Party. So I think one of the interesting people in here is Shad Murab, the chair of the Colorado Democratic Party. He's been quoted extensively on this situation. And to Colorado Newsline, he condemned the ethics complaints after the hearing and said that lawmakers are taking, quote, good faith steps to address the situation, including a sizable contribution to the food bank of the Rockies. I think the contribution was exactly $25,000, the same amount as the hotels apparently cost. Regardless of whether they believe a violation occurred, was Shad's specific comment. So Kyle, what do you make of how he's kind of navigating this divide?
If you like a circus, Shad Murab's the guy on the tightrope, right? He's the guy on the tightrope because he has called One Main Street, this centrist business group, a right-wing special interest group. And now he's trying to knock down the complaint against his people for associating with that group, right? So he's trying to walk this tightrope between the left and the center of his party and say that this business group is a shadowy interest, but all of my folks who have lined up to support their work, you leave them alone. They're good people. You leave them alone.
That was what I was so confused by with like his tweet thread. I was like, I cannot figure out what One Main Street is based on how he's talking about it. It was very confusing. Also, the food bank of the Rockies is a whole other question of how far left you are.
Say it.
There's a lot of folks in the food access space and food justice space who don't feel like that is the right way to go about food access. Like I've just heard from folks that work in smaller food access organizations say like Food Bank of the Rockies will just dump 10,000 Capri Suns on us. And then we have to, that's what we're given to distribute. And it's more about like, I don't know, it's just kind of like the big corporation version. They're a nonprofit and I don't want to say they're not doing good work, but that to me is the most center part of that. offer?
So I would say, I think, just as somebody who fundraises for nonprofits every week, there are only so many food insecurity nonprofits that can handle a $25,000 donation out of the blue, and they're one of the big ones. Right? Metro Caring probably could too, right? They're another wonderful organization that I've raised for, and I did raise for Food Bank of the Rockies years
model,
ago.
Though, just to say, Metro Caring,
100%. Yeah, we could have a whole show about the conversation.
That's more along the lines of the new style of food.
That's a great topic to have a show about sometime. But I think my understanding, based on the reporting of Seth Klayman at the Post, is that there were private conversations between Common Cause, the lefty dark money group, and the folks accused of taking the right-wing dark money about how do we resolve this. And part of it was, well, you have to dispense with the $25,000 that was given to you. And the idea came up in these conversations per the Post, well, we should just give it to Food Bank of the Rockies. So I don't know if that was intended to be like a political statement. I think that was just who can we all agree upon in this room? We could just dump $25,000 of dark money on or pass along dark money. And everybody's like, that's cool.
Yeah, you don't want to fight, especially in this moment right now, where so many of these organizations are feeding way more folks than they were 6 months ago. It makes total sense. And again, I don't want to dismiss Food Bank of the Rockies' work. I've heard from some organizations that it's kind of hard to work with as a smaller organization. And Metro Caring, again, they offer a fresh food market. It's a very different model. It's just an older model. It's the food pantry model.
Is it as big?
No, it is one of the bigger ones.
So that's the thing.
Yeah.
Scale. Shad Murray, boy. I was just so confused I couldn't figure out where he stood.
I couldn't read between the lines enough to understand what he was even saying.
A charitable interpretation is that it's nuanced.
Okay.
A less charitable interpretation would be he's just trying to prevent shooting inside the tent.
Sure.
Right? That his job as the party leader
keep it together
is to keep Dems from fighting with Dems, right? Like, what is the one thing that the Colorado Republican Party has been incapable of doing for the last 10 years? Prevent shooting inside the tent, right? And one leader after another has gotten churned through in the state GOP job because they can't keep Republicans from going to war with each other, right? And this is Shad Murip's problem as the head of the Democratic Party, is how do you keep these two factions within your party, healthy and having good conversations with each other and not ripping each other to shreds?
I think one way he might do it is by closing his mouth. Stop talking to reporters, dude. I mean, there's a time when these heads of parties were not public figures. It's kind of a weird new thing. He reached out to us to offer an interview this week to talk about, I don't know, he was on CPR this week. This is kind of odd. Like, if you want to be a power broker, if you want to help ease tensions, you don't do it in the pages of the newspaper.
I think I disagree with that. I think he has a unique lane, right? There's going to be progressives who absolutely want to talk about why their vision for Colorado is best. There are going to be centrist Democrats that want to talk about why their vision for Colorado is best. And he occupies a somewhat unique position, which is both of these groups have legitimate interests. Let's hear them out and let's not fight with each other inside the party, right? That lane might be solely occupied by that man, right? He might be the only one in that lane. So if he wants to occupy it and come out and advocate for that point of view, I mean, God bless.
Yeah, I also think in where we are with social media, everybody's trying to get in front of the most people, and that doesn't exclude party leaders by any means. We've seen how it works so well for certain politicians to be very visible. So it didn't strike me as odd that he was out here trying to parlay. Although the thing is, what is he selling us? I don't really know.
Exactly. He doesn't have a good message here. He's trying to walk this tightrope. He's going to make someone angry. You didn't have to talk at all.
His message is Colorado Democrats quit fighting in public, fight privately, right? That's the message, right? Fight privately.
Well, also hey, these people, they apologized. This ethics complaint is not that big a deal. He's waving his hand away from that. He's trying to say this isn't that big of a story.
He wants to both criticize the right-wing business group and protect the Democrats who have aligned themselves with the right-wing business group.
Yeah.
That's a tricky spot.
I mean, right-wing business group, I wonder if that's actually, I don't know.
That's his characterization.
That's what he says?
That's his characterization of the group.
Oh, that's interesting. See, he got himself in this situation by opening his mouth in the first place.
That's the job, right? Right.
It doesn't have to be.
That's the job. That's the job of holding together a discordant political party. right? That's
I
the
mean,
gig.
That didn't strike me as odd. We see politicians doing this stuff all the time.
I don't know. I don't think he's a politician. I think he's an operator. I think he's behind the scenes.
Fair.
He's got to leave
Fair.
the direction of the party to the voters. Not that I'm giving him advice. I don't know why I'm saying any of this. I don't care. I just want to watch the drama. Anyway, let us know what you think. 720-500-5418. Leave us a voicemail, send us a text, 720-500-5418, especially if you've stayed at that hotel. Is it worth it?
I want
Is
to
it
know,
worth
because
it?
I'm going to say the pictures didn't look that awesome. For
totally-
Vail?
We're dragging the hotel now?
We were dragging the hotel yesterday when we were prepping for this, so we were like...
And now it's here. Now we're doing it, I
know.
guess.
I'm like, I don't know.
I wanna know.
I expected more from Vail.
Well, let us know what you think. And we're going to go to a break and then talk about something else.
It's time to go over to our CityCast Denver neighbor and sponsor of this week's episode, Elizabeth Martinez with Compass Real Estate, for our weekly segment, Navigating Denver Real Estate, to answer all of your Denver housing market questions.
Hey neighbors, this week we're heading to Southwest Denver to Harvey Park. It all started with ranch land and a grand 1920s estate known as the Harvey Mansion, built by jazz bandleader Paul Whiteman for his parents, later owned by oil man Arthur Text Harvey, who turned these open acres into what we know as Harvey Park. In the 1950s, Harvey Park was thriving. Its core around the old mansion filled with classic Hutchinson ranches, while along Lowell Boulevard, you'll see the slick, low-slung California contemporary designs by architect Cliff May, bringing that sun-drenched West Coast modern style to Denver. To the east, from Irving to Federal, is Burns Brentwood, where the homes shift to frame construction instead of brick, sometimes adding a second story, but no basements. And at its heart lies the actual Harvey Park, complete with rec center and pool. Tucked quietly nearby are two private lakes, Lake Ridge, a peaceful pond, and Riviera Lake, Denver's only private motorized boating lake. I'll admit it, I'm a little biased. I love Harvey Park because I grew up there, and my dad did too, buying the family home from his parents. It's more than a neighborhood to me. It's home.
This segment is sponsored by Elizabeth Martinez with Compass Real Estate. Have a question about Denver real estate? Use the link in the show notes to submit it. Elizabeth might answer your question in next week's segment. This episode is brought to you by Denver Health. Connect with a trusted provider wherever you are in Colorado, right from your home, car, or office. Whether it's a cold, a minor injury, infection, or even a rash, Denver Health's virtual urgent care gets you the help you need. Rated 4.7 stars by over 100 patients on Google, it's a reliable way to feel better sooner. From your campsite. That's something Colorado people do. What if you get a bug bite in the woods? Virtual urgent care can totally help you. You would know if you need to hustle your butt back to the city or if you can keep on your camping trip. I'm just thinking about people in Colorado doing Colorado things that I enjoy watching other people do, like camping. Denver Health is here for life's journey. Ready to make an appointment? Just head to denverhealth.org/virtual today. Most major insurance plans are accepted. Need care fast? Denver Health has you covered with virtual urgent care.
All right, we're back. Our hot topic this week is the crackdown. That's the word of the week. Fentanyl, foodborne illness, a soccer field. I saw there was some city officials, some school just closed down their soccer field to the public.
In the middle of Capitol Hill.
Yeah, because I guess the people were drinking on this soccer field, and I don't know. I don't know about that situation, but we're going to talk about this viral video of a health inspector dumping bleach into food at a popular taco stand. That was probably the biggest thing of the week. That was crazy. But then also, Dougco sheriffs claimed the 6th largest seizure of fentanyl pills in U.S. history. And separately, local FBI and DEA agents announced the largest meth bust in Colorado history. They seized 1,001 pounds of meth from an organization run by drug kingpin, which is apparently an official law enforcement term, Marco Antonio de Silva Lara. Bree, do you feel like Denver is on a bit of a lawless streak here? Is that the connection?
No, I mean, That is a quite good question of what is the connection here. I think one thing with the truck video situation was, okay, also it showed up on TMZ. I mean, this is how far, I was like, oh my God, it was on Food's Gone Wild. And my husband was like, it was on TMZ. And I was like,
Ariana Grande at the taco stand. What is
truly,
it doing on TMZ? I
think it touches on a couple of things where, again, we're in a moment where folks who generally provide this food and service, a lot of those folks are scared to be out in the world, and watching them without context being treated this way was very disturbing for people. I'm of two minds about this particular situation because, of course, I want food to be safe for everyone. But I also understand that I don't think that this came from a lack of caring this wasn't like a bad deed they were trying to do. I just think the video was just so provocative, and there was just no information that, for me, from the health department perspective, I was like, this is just not a good PR look for you guys, especially right now. I understand that this is the method, I guess, but it seemed so extreme. Even talking to the Department of Public Health, it was very helpful to hear from them directly. I still it just felt like the wrong way to go about it. And the other thing is, man, I've eaten at so many of these places. I have never gotten sick. It doesn't mean it doesn't happen. I've gotten food poisoning at restaurants before. But I was trying to think, I was like, have I eaten at something even shadier than this? And I was like, you know what? I ate a foot-long hot dog covered in crawfish and nacho cheese with a bubblegum slushie that was served to me out of the back of a U-Haul. And it was one of the best meals I've ever, it's top 5 meals in my life. So I'm just saying, I can see why people were having so much of a personal reaction to it. These places are important to people. Safety is also important. All of that was missing in this video.
Kyle, what was your first reaction when you saw this thing?
My first thought was, here goes the outrage machine.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see how fast we can insert some facts and context and see if that's going to matter. And that's the world that journalists live in now, where the context always lags behind, right? And everybody's primed to see the outrage and instantly react to it. And then as journalists, we try to just offer as many facts and pieces of context as we can.
As fast as
you can, because, maybe it's going to change some people's minds. Maybe it won't matter at all. It's honestly all we can do in the end. I think this story is so fascinating to me because of the way that it got so big so quickly, was so immune to fact checking, and how little consideration there appears to have been given for the consequences of the people involved. And not just talking about the public health inspector, the woman seen pouring the bleach in there, who I'm sure her life has been changed now.
I
saw some people talking about what's her address, what's her name.
Of course, of course.
Okay. Ugly stuff. I also think that a number of people sympathetic to the food vendor who were sharing it, that by turning this person into a de facto public figure may have changed this person's life for the worst.
How so?
I just think that a colleague of mine spoke with this gentleman who primarily speaks Spanish.
Isidro Garcia,
yes. And he is now at the center of this maelstrom, right? And he has chosen to talk publicly and openly about the fact that, yes, he operates this business without permits and he operates it all over the place. And now that his name and his story are out there, I worry that he becomes a target. And I know that wasn't on anybody's mind when they're like, let's share this outrageous video and get this woman in trouble. But folks need to think through the secondary and tertiary consequences of some of these things. And when you make somebody famous, you no longer control what happens to them. And I realize that might sound weird for a journalist to say, because I cover people all the time who are private people who then find themselves in the middle of the news. But my job is to at least do it with accuracy and context, as opposed to just rage bait or throwing something out there so that it can churn through the online algorithms and then, we'll see what happens to these people. I think you have two people in this situation whose lives may have been changed very negatively, and it is now completely outside of their control and outside of the control of everybody who shared that without any context to it.
I also do want to give your colleague Jeremy Hohola credit for being on top of this as well. One of the sort of funny, I don't know if it's an irony in our comments on Instagram I saw. Usually we're getting, journalists are getting pointed out for not caring enough, not paying attention to the thing we care about. How did you not report on this? And then in this instance, a lot of us were being picked apart for not like, this journalist has taken care of it. You didn't listen to them. Like, you weren't listening to Jeremy. And because Jeremy actually popped in our comments and was trying to defend, like, we were all just trying to cover this the best that we could. And it was just so interesting to me because it's like, also not to be like, oh, poor journalist, but like, we seem to kind of never be right, even when we're trying our best. And again, the internet outreach machine makes us work so much faster, but it's never fast enough, ever.
Yeah, I can't speak to Jeremy's reporting process. I can speak to the reporting process that we went through on the next team, which is we saw the video, obviously knew it was big. And when we reached out to Denver Public Health, DDPHE, obviously heard what they had to say in terms of, yes, this was an extreme action. It was within our policy. We felt it was an extreme circumstance. That's not sufficient, right? I then said to them, I need you to prove what you're telling me. I need all the receipts from all of the prior interactions with this vendor. I need to see the written policy that says that you can pour bleach into food to denature it so it can't be sold. And sure enough, they presented me with the written policy that says that the inspectors can use bleach or kitty litter or soil or other things to render the food unusable for consumption or for sale, right? And we didn't just ask them for their point of view. We asked them for the evidence that backed up what they were saying about what happened out there. And then, right, that's not enough, right? As a journalist, you then have to reach out to the person who's impacted, right? So, we reached out to Mr. Garcia Barrientos and we asked him, do you have a permit? Were you notified of these previous violations? What do you have to say for yourself? And then you start to put together a story that involves all of that context. And it's not just chasing the rage and it's not just parroting what the city has to say. It's presenting, a full plate of facts to people and saying, make of it what you will. And people will have different opinions on it. But you just hope that there still is a desire in society for people to hear and see more than just outrageous videos or the city's PR release. And they want to see the full complement of facts to the extent that we as journalists can quickly gather the full complement of facts and then come to conclusions.
Paul, what did you think when you saw this video?
I thought what Kyle thought, you want the facts. You want to know what's happening. Is there any reason to pour bleach into food? It's crazy. It's shocking. It's just a shocking thing to see. And I thought, I like taco stands. I like eating at places like this. I've eaten at places like this. Like, we're talking to Mario Martinez, who is the person we had on the show about who loves going to these taco stands, knows all these people. He
knows the work behind it. Yeah.
Isidro, and he was just like, in Mexico, this kind of stand is like not as regulated and they're all over the place. And sometimes you get sick and it's just different. It's just a different culture. There's a little bit more of like a openness to risk. So I think that's where my mind was early on. But I don't know. I think it's interesting what conversation we're going to have about regulations, if anything, as a result of this, because I think that's what this is really about, is like how we've regulated food and this type of eating, and like eating at al pastor off a trompo like that. Like, a lot of people love that. Are our regulations too tight to allow that? Some people really want that and are open to the risk. Like, is there a public policy conversation to have about it? But I don't know. Other than that, it was just, fun to watch the ride.
I think everybody's going to make their own decision based on what they're comfortable with, right? But clearly, I think most folks feel like there is some role for government in keeping people safe. Wading into the way that this issue was dissected politically was absolutely wild online. And it was also interesting to watch some people and organizations use it solely as a source of division. You said you saw it on TMZ. I saw it on Russia Today.
Wow.
Russia Today was pumping it out, right? Why is Russia Today pumping it out?
To create division in American society. This is the 2016 election.
Ding. Yes, right? So some people just do it for the divisiveness. But I have to hope, right? As a journalist, I have to hope that there are people who truly do care about learning more about things and want to know more, right? Because what was my gut reaction to the video? I was just like, damn, that's extreme. Like, why are they doing that, right? So then lucky me, my job is to find out why and to try and, like, is this inspector, going rogue, or are they taking an extreme step that's within their policies, and then you gather more information and, you say, you send me pictures of the violations and you see the picture of the trash can filled with dirty water that was the hand sink. And it's like, listen, I honestly don't have a lot of concerns myself about eating at roadside places like that in this country or out of this country. You kind of, the risk that you're taking, right? That said, I roll up to a place and I see somebody washing their hands in a trash can full of water, I might find a new place to eat, right? And then when you see the inspector's report that talks about how when they showed up and they said, this meat is unsafe, I'm sorry, we have to destroy it, and they locked it in a vehicle and refused to unlock it. Like, okay, now I see how we start to get to the point that the woman is pouring the bleach in. And when they say, we've told this stand you have to clean up your act time and time again, and they just move around to avoid us. And oh yeah, El Paso County says they've done the same thing there, and Jefferson County says they've done the same thing there. Well, that's important context for me to have and for the public to have. And I get that everybody wants to have a hot take immediately on it, but please leave some room to like learn some more things. And you can still come away saying like, yeah, I bet you the food was fantastic. And also you could be taking a risk if you eat there.
Per your point about transparency, information, and the other, swinging it in the other direction, if we were to talk about the future and how our regulations shape what we eat, I wanted to talk to these food inspectors, like, what other restaurants are the problem? What are the other taco stands where they're having these histories of inspections and seeing things that have gone wrong? Like, why isn't that public? Why isn't there a website where I can go look up any restaurant in the city and see a full record of all the complaints?
That's a good point. I mean, it's something we would like to know.
I would love to see that. Of course, I'm going to Google reviews first, and I'm checking that star ranking.
Right.
That's number one. But I want to see the health department's take too.
There are some municipalities that force folks to post those, like letter grades at the door. I know that happens in some other cities. I also think a big takeaway from this is it's always good to know where your food comes from, right? It's good to know where your food comes from. The example that I use in my life,
I don't know where that food has been proven to maybe not be from the greatest place.
But you have an idea. I mean, the example that I use in my life as a young reporter, I went to an egg farm, and it absolutely 100% changed the way that I look at the poultry industry and eggs and my consumer choices that I make for myself and my family. And like, I didn't think that I was ignorant about this, right? I grew up in a farm town. Like, I grew up around agriculture. Like, I thought I had a good idea. And then I spent a day inside of an egg farm.
Oh my God.
And it blew me away. So you know what? Whether it is the mega food processors or whether it is the corner taco stand, like, have some interest in where your food comes from. You're putting it in your body.
And I think I'm thinking of like some of my like hardcore animal rights activist friends who would say, you should look into where all your food comes from, because you probably would be pretty not only disappointed, but terrified of what you're eating. But that's a requirement for a lot of what we do, is to just not look when we're in this case with food. But like, obviously meat processing, like you said, I mean, I saw enough in Napoleon Dynamite when he works at the egg farm for a day that I was like, why am I still eating these? And that was a fictionalized version of actually what's happening there. So a lot of it is disassociating from what we don't want to know to continue doing what we do. But there were some comments too on our Instagram from someone who was like, I worked at McDonald's and like they got in trouble all the time. They just paid their fines and moved on. And so it's like, food safety is maybe it's questionable. But I do see, I at least when talking to the health inspector about this, she was saying like, we have resources, we have tried, we do want to work with businesses to keep them in compliance. And I took that to be true. I took that as like, it genuinely seemed to me like the food, they're not out, health inspectors don't seem to be out here wanting to just wreck businesses, but it is a thing that is hard to, it makes us think about deeper things other than just, oh, what was going on at that taco stand? Where am I eating everywhere else? What am I eating? What is the cultural aspect of this? What is there's different, like Mario brought up, it's different in Mexico. It's different in LA. there's just a lot to contend with that was not in that video.
That's why it's a great story. We got to talk about these drug busts a little bit because they are also very interesting. Just briefly, 1.7 million fentanyl pills found in an abandoned storage container down in Dugco. And then meth collected through months of undercover operations. Big press conferences this week for both. Bree, the optics, the press conferences. You wanted to, what did you think about these?
I mean, so the fentanyl drug bust was a storage unit that they purchased?
Someone purchased it. It had been abandoned and not paid for. And then they told the sheriffs, hey, I found these blue pills.
Feels such a good setup for a PR situation. I also had trouble with taking this in because the public information officer for the DEA is Stephen Tubbs, who's spread misinformation about COVID vaccines. And when he was on the radio, he shared misinformation about public health officials. I also think this feels a little bit like propaganda. Like, look what we've done. Here's our beautiful photo shoot of all these drugs. And then there was a comment from, oh my God, I pulled it up. It made me, from CPR's coverage. Well, there are countless captivating storylines that I don't doubt will be generated by this fentanyl seizure, from its record-breaking amount to a made-for-TV episode of Storage Wars. The bottom line is this seizure represents countless lives saved. I don't know if I agree with that. It just feels like, I don't know, it just feels like a PR campaign for the DEA.
You don't think countless lives are saved? I mean, people die from drug overdoses all the time.
Yeah, but this isn't helping them. There are studies that show oftentimes drug busts are followed by overdoses because there's this interruption in the supply, and this is the argument for safe supply. Then all of a sudden people are going elsewhere to get their drugs, and maybe they had a drug dealer that they trusted, and then because that supply is cut off, they're going elsewhere. There's studies about it. I think it still is I can't articulate it exactly, but I don't feel that this was presented in a way to say they were saying we're saving lives, and I just didn't read it that way.
I think a couple things can be true at once, right? That you want illicit drugs off the street, especially drugs that are hidden in something that people think is something else and, could unexpectedly take somebody's life. I also think that journalists are right to be skeptical of the way that these claims are framed, especially around fentanyl. And, you'll often hear these claims that, we grabbed enough fentanyl, to kill every person in America, raise them from the dead and kill them again, And I think, we have to be cautious about the way that these claims are portrayed. But at the same time, it's getting illicit drugs off the street, that's great. Whether they find them in an abandoned storage locker or whether, they bust somebody, right? I mean, a touchdown's a touchdown, right? Whether you fall on the ball in the end zone or whether you return it 99 yards, 6 points is 6 points, I mean, it is what it is. I don't think that they were deceptive about how they did it. They weren't through great detective work, we got a call about an abandoned storage locker. No, I mean, they got a call, they did their jobs. I mean, that's what they're supposed to do. They did their jobs.
The comparison of the two busts, that was what was interesting to me. The first one came out first. That was the first press conference, and they did the whole pills on the table thing, 6th biggest in history or whatever.
Is that just inflation? No, I don't mean to be a jerk about it, but when they talk about the drug busts and the street value of the drugs and this is the biggest ever,
Good
this
question.
is the biggest ever. I don't want to be the reporter that's are we just talking about inflation?
Yeah, I talked to one of my drug policy people who was like, there's no way that's right. There's way more drugs out there than just these. It's not that big of a dent is what they were saying.
Not my area of expertise, just a question.
Yeah, but I just wanted to, I mean, the two in comparison, the first one I felt got more attention, but the second one took way more work from the cops. They were talking about months of undercover operations, multiple busts of this meth.
Do you think that they're you're killing us with this fentanyl in the storage
that's
locker
what I was thinking
thing?
about.
We worked so hard to get this meth, and you guys just found the fentanyl.
It's someone just called about this fentanyl. It was God, we had this press conference planned. We're stacking up all of our meth, and then this is just here for you?
Well, we give them credit. We respect it. They did hard work. They did hard work.
Were you all sad that the health department didn't bring the aguas frescas back to stack them on a table and do a little press conference about health code violations?
Can you imagine if other departments operated this way? It would feel a little. This is how I see those those fashion-y photo shoots. We don't do this with other things. It's very weird.
It does though bring up the idea of scale and context with these things. And I was having this conversation with journalists in the 9 News newsroom about how much follow-up are we going to do on this taco stand bust, right? The viral video had to be addressed because it was viral. And I argued that perhaps public attention and interest is not alone enough reason to do follow-up stories, because at the end of the day, you had a health inspector doing something as prescribed by city policy. You can have a conversation about whether that's good city policy or not. You had somebody operating a food stand without a permit, which they're not supposed to do. That happens every day in this city. If we do team smotherage of this for a week, are we exacerbating the problem, which is what I see as a potential danger to this woman, the inspector, and a potential danger to this man, the taco stand owner, if we treat this like it's Watergate simply because there's public interest in it, when at the end of the day, you had an interesting eyebrow-raising policy that was followed and another place in town operating without a permit.
And a lot of it was folks just going, oh, this happens? I didn't know about the bleach thing, but it's written into their protocol. But I think this is also where the social media of it all changes everything, because that is what directs our attention. You know?
Yeah, and is the job of journalists to just chase social media around? I think, as we acknowledged, right, when it got viral, it desperately needed facts and context. We added that. But then does that deserve a week of follow-up stories? I don't think so, based on what we know happened here.
I think it depends on the desperation of how the need. Like if there are issues revolving around the story that should be corrected or should have context added to them that would be in service to people, then absolutely. And the public and the interest in it is just a bonus. I don't know. We got to move on. We only have a little bit more time. So we're going to take another break and then we're going to come back for wins and fails.
This episode is brought to you by the Denver Botanic Gardens. Make the holiday season magical at Trail of Lights at Chatfield Farms in Littleton. Wander through multiple glistening tunnels along the Colorado countryside as synchronized illuminations dance above. Enjoy the farm's mile-long path or take the alternative trail that's a shorter stroll but just as beautiful. Keep bellies warm with hot beverages, nuts, kettle corn, caramels, and fudge, which are available for purchase. Plus, get ahead on that seasonal gifts list. Visit Chatfield Farms Holiday Market running November 21st through December 24th. Chatfield Farms is located at C470 and Wadsworth Boulevard in Littleton. Trail of Lights runs November 21st through January 11th. Tickets must be purchased online in advance. Grab yours now at botanicgardens.org. That's botanicgardens.org.
Guess what? CityCast has some news. I'm Sean McPherson, the host of CityCast Twin Cities.
And I'm Jane Sihu, and I'm the host of CityCast Seattle. Hey, if you have a friend in one of our cities, can you text them for us?
Yeah, something, simple like, hey, how's that rash doing? And do you listen to podcasts? Because I have one you're definitely going to like. After that, tell them that CityCast has helped you become more informed, more involved, and more connected to your amazing city.
We're going to help that person you know in Seattle who's been trying to make friends.
And we're also going to do that for that guy you only kind of knew in college who moved back to the Twin Cities after graduation.
Don't we all have that guy?
Yeah, and usually that guy is named Todd.
So did you text them yet?
Jane, let's just wait a minute. We don't want to rush anybody. We'll do a little small talk. How's everything going in Seattle?
Beautiful, beautiful. Fall leaves popping. How about Twin Cities?
Today, beautiful and sunshiny in St. Paul. Okay, Jane, I bet they are done texting by now, and I just want to remind them, hey, you, please tell that friend to subscribe to CityCast Twin Cities or Seattle, wherever you get your podcasts.
Or if you don't want to text them and you're really just on Instagram sending them DMs all the time with like funny videos, send them a DM of our latest videos. You can find us at CityCast Twin Cities or CityCast Seattle on Instagram. Thanks.
And we're back. Best way to end the week, wins and fails, a.k.a. Rocky Mountain highs and lows. Each of us brought a recent local something that we think is a win and another we think is a fail, and we're going to talk about them. We're going to start with fails, and I'm going to go first. I want to talk about lies and Winchell's Donuts in Longmont.
Lies and the lying liars who tell them.
These people at this Winchell's in Longmont have been saying they're going to reopen for 4 years. This sign on this window has said reopening soon for 4 years, and it is a lie. And they're saying it again, and people are reporting it that they're going to do an opening this week or next week. They're saying they're doing a soft opening. Stop it with these lies.
Paul out here
Until
just speaking on behalf of the Longmont donut community.
There was a guy holding up a sign at the, oh man, I forgot what the sign was, but he had at the No Kings rally, he was like, something Winchell's. But people in Longmont really care about this Winchell's. It is a huge issue. It's very important to those of us who spend time in Longmont. There are not a lot of good places to eat, and this was one of them. So don't tell me you're reopening until I can get an apple fritter and eat it. Just don't even tell me. I don't even want to know. Until it's open, don't tell me it's opening.
Aren't these franchise businesses? Like,
yeah,
there's
it's just a franchise
person behind
owner
it who maybe can't afford to get it open?
I feel the pain of the wait, though, because that was me with Vine Street when it closed during the pandemic and then was closed for like 4 years. It was like, friends, if I press my face against the glass, will you open any faster? Like, please bring this back to the community. So
me and the Longmonters.
I respect you for that. Yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Bree, what's your fail this week?
Well, I just want to acknowledge really quick, Pernell Steele, Pernell Steen, a jazz pianist here, passed away this week. Hugely influential in the jazz world.
Not really a fail, but sad.
Just sad. Yeah, I just want to mention that. I also just wanted to mention that disability activist Alice Wong died on a national scale, but it was very hit home for a lot of folks close to me. But my fail goes to the outcome post the Alameda Road Diet getting shut down, or at least slimmed down quite a bit. There was a story this week that Jamie Lewis, who's a disability rights activist who uses a wheelchair, resigned from the Citizen Advisory Board at Dottie after this happened. And he said, quote, all of a sudden these projects get changed at the last minute, and we're starting to see a very disturbing trend that it seems like they're listening to the minority. And I have to agree here. I think I was looking at those plans and understanding how long the outreach went and everything to that happened sort of out of nowhere. It feels like we're never going to get anywhere with street safety. It's like, it's not only not a priority, it's being actively deprioritized in the process of people trying to make our roads safer. And I'm disappointed. I'm very disappointed in Denver. And we just had that story come out this week in the Washington Post that East Colfax is one of the most dangerous roads in the country for pedestrians. We're not setting good records here, people. So, I don't know. That's my fail.
I don't know if I've seen any quotes from Jill Anschutz, who's the apparent leader of this opposition to the road diet. I feel like I hear you on street safety. I do feel like this coverage has been a little bit imbalanced. Like, I think I've said this before, but the transit people have a very powerful voice. These are strong advocates. They're in touch with the media. I wanted to hear more of the other side because I don't know if I heard it. I didn't understand how big of a pain in the ass this was for them.
I don't know if Jill's commented in particular, and I didn't see any quotes from her or anyone from the organized opposition. And I'm not speaking to that. I'm just speaking to the fact that we didn't get something that seemed really crucial. And now people are feeling so disgruntled that they don't even want to participate in the process anymore, which feels like a fail in itself because we relied technically on community input for these kinds of things to happen. So I'd feel disillusioned too. I don't know if I worked on that for a long time.
Kyle, what's your fail?
My fail goes to Kersey, where the police department was giving out $340 speed radar tickets to people.
Where?
Kersey.
Where's that?
Up north.
It's the first time I've heard someone say Kersey and not Kersey.
Oh, I might be doing it. I might be doing it wrong.
I don't know. I don't know this place.
So my colleague Steve Sager was reporting on this based on complaints that we got from citizens about $340 speed radar tickets. And what Steve found was that their own municipal ordinances up there limited tickets to $40 and $80, but they were popping people for $340 a piece. It was this area where it went from 60 something to 40 something on the outskirts of town in short succession, and then photo radar right after that. So they were popping people going 20 over, which, right? You don't want to go 20 over, right? But I think we all know about those places where the speed limit drops really quickly as you're going into town, coupled with photo radar, hitting people with $340 tickets. And so my fail is for Kersey, but win to Steve Sager and for journalists in general who put a spotlight on what happens in local communities to just say, are we cool with this? Right? You guys do this all the time around here. Are we cool with this? And sometimes the community goes, yeah, we're fine with that. Mm-hmm. Rock on. And sometimes the community goes, no, that isn't right. We need to stop doing that. And I always say that, good policy is defensible policy. When I ask an elected official to defend something and they turn to insults or they run away, it's probably not good policy, because good policy is defensible policy. And in this case, when Steve Steger shone a light on what was going on with these $340 tickets, the town immediately suspended the policy.
Interesting.
And they're going to review it. And I think that that's pretty telling.
That's really interesting. That is a big
good journalism. I went to Fremont, California a few years ago, and I rented a car, and I got busted. I got a letter like 3 weeks later. They had a picture of me, a $500 fine, my infraction, turning right on a red light.
Ooh.
$500.
Wow.
Still upset about it. I'd be upset like that if I got a speeding ticket in Kersey.
Not to condone speeding, but sometimes those photo radar photos are just exceptional. For years at our house, there was one of my wife stuffing an enormous muffin into her mouth, going down 17th. And she got popped for going like flattering. 8 over. No, they're never flattering. But she was taking a big bite of that muffin when the photo radar popped her, and she didn't like that I put it on the refrigerator like a kid's report card. But that brought me joy every day that I saw it.
Frame it. I love that, because I do feel like you get those and you're like, this is unmistakably me. There's no way this is not me.
Is my mouth open all the time?
Yeah. Do I oh God, I haven't gotten one of those in a long time.
Kyle, you said your win was from Steve in the reporting, or
I've got another win.
Give us your other win.
Sure.
Give us your other win.
My other win goes to Republican Congresswoman Lauren Boebert for forcing the release of the Epstein files. I think
what a turn.
There were a ton of people in Congress, including in Colorado's delegation, like Republican Congressman Gabe Evans, who put out press releases about how they were champions of transparency because they participated in the near unanimous vote to release the Epstein files. But there were precious few Republicans who were actually willing to put it on the line and force the vote. And Boebert was one of them. And reports indicate she did it under considerable pressure from President Trump and the leaders of her party. And I just think that what she did took tremendous courage, and especially once everybody else jumped on the bandwagon, that it's incumbent upon us to say credit to her.
Yeah, Marjorie Taylor Greene did something similar. This is such a full circle moment for all of us. There was a debate that you hosted where Lauren Boebert mentioned us. And here we all finally get to talk about it.
I feel like, as a journalist, though, if you're going to be critical of somebody when you think that they make decisions that are not in the public interest, that you should also acknowledge when they make decisions that are in the public interest. And I not only covered this on our program next, but I also offered a commentary about it and encourage people. You have to, wherever you stand politically, left, right, center, whatever, you have to be willing to give credit to people you disagree with when they do things you do agree with, because otherwise there's no incentive for them to ever step out of line and to ever disagree with people within their political tribe. We have to be willing to do that. And that's such a fundamental thing that I believe. And if I'm going to say it, then I have to practice it. And then I do that by saying Lauren Boebert deserves a tremendous amount of credit for what I think is her most significant accomplishment in 5 years in Congress. And she did it by standing nearly alone against the most powerful person in the world. That is not a small thing that she did.
Her biggest ally, her biggest backer for a long time, too.
And it's about, this case in particular is about standing up for children who were raped by very high up people in this whole world. And I thought that was really interesting. I think I called it one of Boebert's accidental feminist moments, because she doesn't I asked her about this directly, and she doesn't really align with the idea of feminism, but sometimes she does do that work. And I agree. I'm really impressed, because this could have easily just gone under the rug again. This story's been brewing for over a decade.
Yeah.
So
I think there will be a day, if it's not here now, where everyone is going to say that they were for that. Right?
Yeah.
There was one vote against it in the House. It was unanimous consent in the Senate. So there's a lot of people saying, I always wanted those files out.
Yeah, Trump says that now, too.
Trump says that now. They weren't there 2 weeks ago. Mm-hmm. She was.
Yeah, that is interesting that he wants it.
So I will go next with my win. Goes to Macy Lau, who is a Denverite and a former Warner Brothers executive. According to the Denver Post, Macy and her husband have purchased the old Yates Theater, which is a building I didn't really know exists, or I probably saw it, but I didn't know it used to be a theater. And they plan to reopen it. They've signed a 10-year. Did they buy? Anyway, they're planning to reopen it as a theater to play classic and second-run movies. And the word for them is coziness. And they've got this whole like collective of businesses, other neighbors in the area that are all invested in the project as well, because they all see the future of a new commercial area. And, as a movie lover, I think that sounds awesome. Can't wait to go see a movie there. But just for the whole community to get together and see this potential and get involved and pitch in, that's a huge win. So Macy Lau, you get the win from me this week.
Yeah, I'm excited about this too. Just another venue that's being opened independently by people who live here. That's a rare thing. And when it happens, it's beautiful. That project has been, someone tried to do it and then COVID hit. And I think it just, they lost everything. It's been in the works for a long time. And I'm glad someone's been able to actually get it to the finish line, because it's going to be great. I mean, think about like a place like the Bug Theater. It's so awesome. And that's been a staple. Creating another space like that for maybe other artistic mediums. Wonderful. That's wonderful for the arts community here in Denver too.
And to have that buy-in, right? To make something
people
with
really
and for
want it.
neighbors, right?
Yeah.
Right. Like I feel like the more of that we can do in every single space and place within our lives is like make something in conjunction with your neighbors, for your neighbors, and get the community involved.
I'd love to see that happen at the Pleasures by my house, because I learned from an old school Southwest Sider that used to be the movie theater they went to as a kid. So.
Oh, I thought you were saying there should be like a neighborhood-driven sex shop.
No,
Yeah.
but there is a great one actually. I think it's Awakening Boutique.
Let's talk about what we like in this place, folks.
No, I'd like to ditch the Pleasures and get the movie theater back.
That was unclear from the original presentation.
Nothing wrong with sex shops.
No,
by all means.
Bree, your win this week?
Tonight, the lights get lit at Civic Center Park.
Tonight Friday or tonight Thursday?
Tonight Friday.
Tonight Friday. Okay,
check it out, folks. I'll put I'll share my Christmas playlist again for anybody else who's a Christmas person. I've already got a third of my decorations up. It takes me like 4 to 5 days to get them all up, but I love it. It makes the building look so beautiful. Yes. And it's where like the LED lights really I love the glow of Christmas lights, but that is like, it looks perfect on that building. I'm saying,
the city and county building.
Yes, yeah. It's gorgeous, and I can't wait to see it.
What I'm eager to see is the newly expanded fleet of drones that is going to be flying over
they're
Denver.
Do the drone
I heard that
shows.
they have about 200 more drones this year. I don't know if they're going to do new designs or new stuff, but I thought it was great last year. I can't wait to see what they do.
I think
more drones.
Any drones that the community can get behind because they're not surveilling us is great, right? So if they're just there for a show, enjoy, folks.
As long as they're not surveilling us. That's great. Also, just one correction from earlier, or not a correction, a verification. Yes, the Swedish group Rednecks is behind Cotton Eye Joe. So it was a Swedish dance group. And they dress up in costumes as rednecks in the video. It's That's fine moment for 1994.
Well, that's the show, everyone. Thank you so much for listening and for, that's it, listening. Kyle, Bree, see y'all next time.
Good to see you.
Thanks, guys.
That's all for today here on CityCast Denver. Our producers this week were Selena C.A. Reynolds, Olivia Jewel Love, and me, Paul Caroli. We recorded the Dude IDK Studios in 5 Points with support from Jacob Rupp and Nick Holmby. Peyton Garcia writes our morning newsletter, Hey Denver. Abby Madigan runs our social media. Bree Davies is our host. Our music is by Los Mocochetes with additional mixing by Tyler Lindgren. Los Mocochetes may or may not be at the Denver's Denver Awards in December. Buy your ticket now if you haven't already. You can also subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. Follow us on Instagram at CityCast Denver and tell someone who's been to that hotel in Vail about us. I want to know how it is. And remember, you can support the show and get great perks by becoming a CityCast Denver neighbor at membership.citycast.fm. You can sign up for that daily newsletter I mentioned and learn more about us at denver.citycast.fm. And that's it for the credits. Oh my God, there are so many. Thank you all for being with us this week, and see you next one for a short Thanksgiving week. Bye, everyone.